case scenario here would be if he has a crossface and an underhook, and he has me flattened out. Okay? If this is the case, like, there are things I can do, but generally he's winning here. Okay? So, we're gonna work on breaking what we call this chest-to-chest connection here. There's a couple different ways to do it. We're probably gonna focus on the most basic one that works the most often, okay? So first of all, a lot of times when there's a crossface, it's gonna be accompanied by pretty heavy crossface pressure. Yeah. Okay, and if he's doing this well, I won't be able to move too well. Okay, so to kind of alleviate some of this pressure, I'm gonna take my free arm here. I'm just gonna cup his shoulder to pull a little bit of the pressure off, okay? This should allow me enough wiggle room to help to scoot my hips out. And I'm gonna try to get this arm as a frame under his neck here, okay? Now, the goal with this frame, you might wanna ease up a little bit, this is gonna be uncomfortable. Yeah. The goal with this frame is to really curl around the scapula, okay? So the reason I told him this is probably gonna be uncomfortable is I'm gonna start to flare my elbow. Yeah, you see his face? It's gonna put some pretty bad pressure in here, okay? As I'm doing this, okay, you guys see my right leg? That's my base leg for half guard. As long as I have this leg, I have a half guard, okay? So at brief moments, it's okay to disengage this leg to make adjustments for my hips. So from here, I'm just gonna make a small hip escape, okay? So I can continue to open up space here. Now that I have this frame, I don't really need to hold on to the shoulder anymore. My job is now to get this hand on the inside, okay? Now, from here, think of it this way. We're always trying to get both knees and both elbows inside. So my last step is to recover this leg in some manner, okay? A lot of different things we could do, butterfly guard, so on and so forth. But if our goal is to attack from half guard, we're gonna look for what's called a high knee shield, okay? So once I get this hand inside and I'm framing, okay, I'm gonna look to pummel this leg in. And this leg is gonna help combat against this side of his body, all right? Now from here, there's a lot of different things we can do, okay? There's a lot of different things he can do. Just to talk about a couple issues you might have from here, okay? He's always gonna try to put chest pressure on, okay? See, that's kind of holding him at bay. Sometimes when he figures out that he can't do that, he might try to move this arm around. And at this point, you can also use this hand to control the insides of the arms, all right? If you guys are letting this knee drop, go ahead, put your chest on it. Okay, you're letting him win now, okay? You need to keep this knee flared. That's a big reason why I'm staying here. Try to put weight now. I'll look at my bottom foot, my right foot. Okay. This is very minor, especially if you're going to switch, okay? But you know, sometimes if you're holding, it doesn't hurt to take your toes here and point them towards the mat and start to hook this leg. All right, first thing, this crossface. It's really limiting the things I can do. So I'm going to grab the shoulder so I can take a little bit of the pressure off and start to put in this frame. Remember, if it's hard to do, make sure you guys are hip escaping as much as you need to make adjustments. Wrist here, curl, and now look, I'm being nice right now. If I'm not being nice, I'm engaging that forearm, okay? Now, from here, my next goal, like guys, look, I can't really put this leg inside like this. I still need to break this, so I'm trying to hip escape here to get on the inside of this arm, okay? Once I do that, if he tries to cross face me again, look, this is a barrier now. So now I've opened up a lot of space, and then this will be much easier to do. I want to make sure I don't run into a wall of like counters and attacks here. So we're going to start with a little bit of an off balance with that knee shield leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to elevate and push to give myself better access here, okay? Now, some basic ideas we want to look for. If you guys see, I'm more perpendicular to him right now. That's important, okay? If I go for my underhook and I go straight into him here, I'm gonna meet him and he's gonna, a lot of times just return me right to the mat there, okay? So as you get the underhook, make sure you're cutting out slightly to the side, okay? One of the other main things we need to worry about is submissions, okay? So as I do all this, I don't want my head low like this. Yeah, go ahead. A lot of times that's where people attack your neck or sometimes even your arm. So again, this is just like a couple weeks ago when we did double legs. We want our head nice and high and like our ear driving into the shoulder. So now if he tries to grab my head, yeah, it's very difficult. Okay. Now, last thing we're gonna do here, okay, is start to set up control on the leg. All right. So when I go for control on the leg, we're making what we call a coyote hook. That's making pressure on his knee by pulling his foot out. Okay. So what we have right now is a normal half guard hook, right? When I start to bring my outside leg over, that's what we would refer to as a coyote hook, or in wrestling sometimes they'll call us turping the leg. Okay? So here, as much slack as I can as I start to advance. Under the ankle, you guys see I'm pulling that foot out. That'll start to pressure the knee and make it harder for him to fight back here. Okay? I just want you guys to focus on those 2 steps right now. Now, when you finish here, okay, look at my knees. Think of this as like a triangle, okay? When you hook the leg here, do not open your knee too much. Now you can pick your knee up off the ground. Yeah. I don't want that going all over the place. So when I hook here, make sure your knee is touching your ankle. Try to lift your knee up. See how it's pinned to the mat. I extend. Okay, I get my head high. A really good tip here is when you get to this position, look at something that's in front of you. If you look at the ground, your head's going to drop, and that's going to put you in that bad position. Okay? Now from here, we're going to switch to our coyote hook. 1. Okay, you guys see nice and deep. The more shallow you go, the less control you're going to have over his foot. You guys see my knee opens more. Alright, so okay, we've got him here. Okay? We pull his leg out. Alright? Now, let's take a look at a few more things we can do with control as we start to lean into our attacks here as well. Okay? So, we can look to start to clear our bottom knee kick, especially in the next class. So there's a lot of attacks where we get up. Okay? If I try to get up with my knee in the middle here, it's possible and it will work a lot. But look. Like, look at how close my knees are together. Okay? If I don't have the best base here, of course, especially if he's not here than me, and Brandon is pushing into me, a lot of times, like, you'll just fall right back to the ground. Okay? So one of the habits we're going to build for that right now is to clear this long leg, right? So we're just going to pick up right where we left off. I'm going to start to open this leg and lift so I can bring my bottom knee out. Okay? Now what this does is it forms like a trap around his foot. So if he tries to escape his leg, it's very difficult. And then the second thing, like I just said, eventually when we do want to come up for different attacks here, you guys see, now I have a lot of mobility with this leg. Alright? If you stick around for the next class, we'll look at more options like that. Okay? For now, we're going to stick with the first sweep, which is really not just a sweep, but a way to get the game going here as an off balance. Alright? So, that's going to be here. Alright? Once we get that control over the ankle, now the last thing we have is this free hand. We're going to get a second underhook, this time on the leg. Okay? We're pulling our elbows and our chest in nice and tight. Okay? Now, to start to move them, I'm going to use my bottom foot. Okay? I'm going to extend my legs, or my bottom leg, and I'm going to push off the mat with my toe. Okay? Now, from here, I'm using this to steer my hips. My main goal right now is to get Brandon's knee off the mat. So as I toward his knee here, and I move my hips, I want to get that knee off the ground. Okay? Then from here, I'll start to draw my feet back in. You guys should feel once you get here, you have a strong position. Okay? And then from here to finish this basic movement, we're just going to keep rotating. Okay, like a hip escape. Now, as you guys get to the top, a lot of times this will be enough and you'll just get on top. Okay? But again, especially if we're going against somebody more experienced, our job isn't quite done yet here. Okay? So that is, we're just going to keep making that same motion as a habit here. Because what's going to happen a lot is he's going to try to get back up. Okay, so like get up to your elbow. Yeah. So I don't want to like drive through. We want to break that habit. I just want to keep circling. I'm pushing with my head as I do that. Okay? That helps keep him on the side like this. And then once we get him to a side, or if like you never got to begin with, we'll take this in. And we'll control this arm so he doesn't get up. Okay? So if you guys have done side snatch classes with me, like it's basically the same thing. Alright? Now to finish, you guys see I'm still putting pressure on this knee. I'm I'm gonna drive my head forwards, bring my foot around, hook, extend this, and then we can finish our sweep with A, no problems from him, and B, also in a very strong position. In terms of avoiding submissions, front headlock specifically, we're gonna try to stay really high looking across, okay? Try to go for that front headlock. And in a lot of scenarios here, like if he starts to come up really high and like try to force it, again, that's when we can potentially start to wrestle up and like even hit body lock style takedowns here, okay? And guys, like something that might be in your head here is like, well, if you go for the underhook on the far leg, aren't you breaking that rule? In a sense you are, but remember, we don't want to stay in a middle ground here. I'm either going to be really, really high or really, really low, specifically underneath of him, right? So, you'll see people a lot of times when they defend something like a Darce go flat to their back or just flat in general. Okay, so when you guys get here, don't like procrastinate. Like, yeah, Grant could advance to a Darce right here. Okay, so if you're gonna go for this leg, make sure you're pulling yourself flat. Okay, so now if he goes to Darce me, it's much more difficult. And as he's doing that, I'm already in place to start off balancing this knee. All right, so we're here. You guys are doing literally all the same things from the first drill. High knee and shield, getting your underhook here, pulling the leg out to begin with. And guys, remember, look at this right here as a checkpoint. Okay. Try not to open your knees too much once you get the control over this thing. All right. Now, first thing, we're gonna advance that triangle. So as I pull this leg out, I'm gonna lift, so I can slide my bottom knee through. As soon as I do that, I'll look for the second underhook here. Guys, so I'm just trying to lift. He's gonna be too heavy. You need to extend this leg. Push. Okay, we're trying to get that knee off the ground. Okay. Now I'm just gonna keep rotating. Okay. Now as I come to the top, okay, I am gonna let go of his leg, but I'm not gonna let go of his leg with my leg. Okay. So I'm gonna let go of that underhook is what I mean. Okay. I'm gonna keep the underhook on his waist, but not his leg. Okay. Guys, remember, and you should do a few reps like this. Get up to your elbow. We're not going this way, we're going this way. Just keep walking and turning. And when you break it down, get control of this arm so you can't get back up. Okay. Leg forwards, leg forward. I don't want you guys to forget, like if you were here during those lessons, things like the knee lever, the John Wayne sweep. Okay. Sometimes off of something like a failed John Wayne sweep here, I don't even want to say failed, but like using it as an off balance. Okay. A lot of times here, if he has an underhook and I'm gonna off balance him, guys, if he doesn't take this out and I off balance him, he's gonna get rolled over. He's gonna get swept, right? So when I do this, okay, this time post. Okay, I can't sweep him, but he just gave me the underhook. So let's make sure that we're torquing the knee and sliding this through, okay? So that's gonna come into play right here. All right, so remember what I just said about the last sweep, okay? If Grant's overhooking or he's putting his hands on the ground shallow, okay, you should attempt that first sweep, okay? Now, a lot of times off the first sweep, especially momentum-based versions, which we'll be looking at later, okay, you'll get big reactions where he posts his hands really far forwards. Okay, so go ahead. All right, so when he does that, it's going to open up different things, but not only that, it's going to make the first sweep very difficult. Okay, so you should feel that if you try the first sweep from here, see his knee's not coming off the ground, which is what we need, right? So when this happens, since he's so far over us and there's a lot of space here, we're gonna think to go around him instead, okay? So a lot of times, like what you'll see is people bringing the elbow out and just coming up here, okay? There's a few problems with that. A, it's kind of slow, and B, on top of it being slow, what that means is that it's easier for Grant to recognize that something's wrong, and he's gonna throw that overhook right back in. Yeah, and then we get in this cycle of like, sweeping back, okay? So a little small detail here to work as a buffer and break that cycle is what we'll call a thumb post, okay? So as I make the decision to come up, I'm going to start to extend my arm. That's going to help drive me out. But I'm not just going to do that. As I extend my arm, I'm going to bring my thumb into his arm. Okay? Now, what you should feel when this happens is not only are you pushing yourself out, okay, this is going to be like a lot of other thumb posts, especially side control escapes. If Grant tries to put the overhook back in, go ahead. See, he's got to get through this post now. Okay? I can't stay here forever, but this does buy me a lot of time. Okay, and then as we're posting out, we can start to get up. As for now, keep that jerk on the leg. It's going to help. Now, just like the last technique, okay, let's talk about what happens after the fact. Let's not be too loose here. Okay. So a couple things. As you get up and you start to connect, it is still possible for him to bring this arm back up and again throw him that overhook. Okay. So a couple details to stop that. As I start to connect to him here, I'm going to start to look across his body this way. Okay. As I look across his body, I'm going to connect by putting my right ear on his back. Okay. Throw in the overhook now. See, it's a lot more difficult. Okay. Now on top of that, to control this position, okay, a lot of the reactions that he might have. I want to make very deliberate grips when I'm in the turtle, right? So as we get up here and I put my ear on his back, okay, one really good option is to take this hand and go on the inside of his leg and make a spiral right. Okay, so forearm straighten, and then this arm can just stay here controlling. So here, everything's the same. Switching my controls. Okay, so we're here. Okay. Guys, no harm in just attempting the first sweep. Again, follow that rule of like 10% effort at a time. Okay, if you get like, in this case, like 30 or 40%, and he's just not going, start to at least consider switching to the next technique. Okay, and changing your attacks to it. Alright, so when I make the decision, again, I'm going to start to extend this arm. As I extend, I'm going to transfer that to a bump post. You got two reasons. It helps push me out, and it helps to stop him from throwing that overhook back in. Okay? It helps me build up safely, and as I build up safely, I'm going to look across him, put my ear on his back, and try to have your partner throw an overhook again. It should be very difficult. Okay? Then from here, spiral right. We can either control the sleeve here, or if there's no gi, we can control the wrist. Guys, there will be a point here, like if you are playing both positions, let's say you're not necessarily looking to prefer the dog fight, you're looking to play the whole spectrum here, okay? There will be a point where, again, he's just following you by posting and whizzing, okay? And you just can't get a strong momentum or off balance to hit any sort of attack here. That's a good time to consider just coming up to the dog fight anyways, even though you can't clear this or you can't take his back. You know, so on and so forth, okay? Now, again, let's talk about attacking as we transition here, okay? Like, keep them on the losing end, if you will. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our underhook and we're gonna switch to what we call a shoelace underhook, okay? So I'm gonna take that underhook out, go under his shin and grab his foot, okay? We do this a lot when we do leg locks, all right? For now, it doesn't matter too much if you use your thumb or not. Like, stretch your leg a little bit. Yeah. This should be a pretty robust grip, okay? Now, when I get this shoelace underhook, what I'm gonna look to do is take my actual underhook and feed here, okay? And this should be a pretty tight grip, all right? Now I'm gonna start to advance up to the dog fight with a pretty serious advantage here. Now, from here, okay, we could look to advance through our attack, but pay attention to what he's doing, okay? If his hands are on the floor, we can look to do things like drive through him, but again, guys, the back is right here, so, you know, take what they give you, as they say, right? If he is whizzing, again, this is a barrier, we're probably not going to be able to get behind him with this, okay? So, instead, what we're going to look to do is continue to attack this leg, all right? Now, guys, I'm showing you a technique, a way to do this, but here's the main concept, even if I don't have a split. And it's the concept we've been following for basically all the sweeps that we've done this week, okay? Which is circular motion. Okay, so when we're doing all of this, with or without his leg, I should be focused on turking his leg and moving in a circle, okay? That's your base movement, okay? Don't sacrifice that for all the other stuff that we're gonna do here. Okay, come back, please. All right, so we have a hold of that foot, okay? As I'm circling towards him, I'm gonna use my hand to grab the knee. Now, a lot of times this will be enough, okay? But if he's experienced, what he's gonna try to do is keep this knee away from me so I don't have good leverage, okay? So a stronger thing we can do here is as we turn, I'm gonna switch from my hand to my elbow, okay? So now if he tries to get that knee wide, it's gonna be a lot harder because now my chest is connected to it, okay? Now I just continue to turn. And you guys see from here, we're in a similar position as the first technique, okay? But this time I control this foot. All right, so again, treat this like a side switch, okay? You control the elbow, okay? As you turn with the pommel. And a lot of times you can pass as you're still holding onto this foot. If you miss the foot, it's basically the same technique as the roll under sweep. All right, we're still gonna go from here, guys. Again, we're gonna start to chain all of our positions together. So I'm gonna let go of this, and I'm gonna grab his shoelaces, okay? Then I'm gonna take this arm, and I'm gonna trade hands here, okay? Now when I'm ready to get up, if you feel like you're smushed here, okay, we're gonna always do this from a lot of different positions. You're gonna take your elbow, you're gonna wipe it over your head, and then you're gonna use that movement to build up to your elbow here, okay? Now, again, torquing the knee, pushing with the head. Now let's talk about what we can do with this hand, okay? We're gonna start to look for this knee. A lot of times this will be enough, okay? But if we want this to be even stronger, especially considering Grant's gonna try to keep this knee wide, okay? Instead, I'm gonna switch to my elbow, okay? Now this is a lot tighter, so if he tries to get his knee wide, it's difficult. Now I just keep doing that same thing. I rotate, and I push with my head, okay? Now, we're gonna keep that same finish as the first technique we did, okay? The only difference is I'm grabbing his bottom foot now, which is optional, okay? I'm gonna continue to rotate, so he's broken down. I'm gonna grab the elbow, okay? Pommel. And then we can start to pass here. Mechanical versions of the roll under sweep and the back take, right? So, where that's gonna start to tie in when we go deeper here, okay? Especially if you guys prefer the dog fight position, right? Is another situation here where I can't really get good control of this leg, okay? So let's say we're on the last technique, you won't always be able to get that shoelace through. And a lot of times, one reaction you might get here is you might post this foot, and then it's really hard to get an underhook here. So these are like times where it's glaring to go to dog fight, okay? Now don't get me wrong, especially in the gi, there are ways to mitigate this. We could use pant grips. Okay, palm up or palm down. They do have their deficiencies though, like you could wrist pin me here. Okay? So let's just be under the assumption that we just can't get this leg at all. Okay? Alright, so now we're here. Now, especially if this is something where Grant's posting his leg, okay, he's putting pressure into me. And when he's putting pressure into me, I can make the decision to go with this. So what you'll see a lot of times is you'll push into the person, they'll push back. And you get a momentum-based version of the first attack, right? I think that's how most people learn this, to be honest. Since we're on the topic of not being able to grab that far leg, okay, we have what we call like a near side version of that roll under sweep, okay? We don't necessarily need to go under the far leg to sweep them with this, okay? This is one of my like personal favorite variations here. So let's take a look at that. This one throws a lot of people off, okay, because they're expecting you to go for that far leg. So we're gonna build up like we just did, and instead of making a big dive for that far leg, okay, instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my underhook behind this leg, okay? So now as I drive in, I'm gonna go here, then I'm gonna roll through this way, okay? And then from here, it's going to be the same exact thing. Getting that side smash orientation, pummeling. and then passing, okay? So really just a couple things to think about here if you're gonna hang out in the dog fight. One, again, especially if it's active, like for example, you're going for like the far knee pick here, just the concept of it, we should always be torquing this leg, okay? Another thing we can think about if we're not quite ready or able to do that is encapsulating this knee, okay? So right now, if Grant moves his leg around a little bit, yeah, see there's some laxity there, okay? Especially if I'm not torquing it. So one other thing we can do here if we're just holding is just take this knee, pinch it in, and now if he tries to move his leg, see this gives us a better ability to just hang out here and cycle through our options. All right, don't let me have this. All right, yeah. You'll get here a lot and you'll be like, okay, I can't do all the moves now. Yeah, you still can, okay? Just elect to go to the dog fight maybe instead of just staying here and fighting for something that's not there, okay? So instead of trying to go for something that's not there, I'm just gonna go this way instead, okay? All right. Don't get me wrong, if he's posting his foot and driving in, you can do it with just that. But I'm gonna strongly recommend that if you wanna get good at momentum-based versions of these techniques, get really good pushing reactions, just like we're wrestling. I push into him, he pushes back, yeah. See, he's going in the direction I want now. Now when I go to sweep him and I go under the leg, okay, a lot of momentum there to bring him over now, okay? And then we'll pass the same way. Okay. So if I can't get control of this leg, or I don't prefer to, okay, this is going to be a very easy method of getting out of the cycle here. Okay. Guys, we need to be very specific about how we do this. Okay? This is a simple technique, but a lot of people follow the wrong steps and have the wrong idea here, and they end up like going to limp arm. Stay really tight here, okay? And your arm isn't going anywhere. Right. So let's put a specific scenario behind this. Okay, this is going to be pretty preferable to use if Ulysses like close his far leg, and he puts a lot of downward pressure on that wizard. Okay, this sucks, but he's also locking himself into this position too, which is going to make it easier to carry his weight. Okay, the looser he is, the harder it is to do this. Okay, so first thing, I want to rotate my palm inward towards my body. And I want to try to touch my elbow with my body as close as I can. Okay. The next thing I want to do as I'm doing this is I want to get my shoulder out of this arm plate and my head low. Okay? Now when I actually go to limp arm out, it should feel like you're pulling that shoulder forwards, okay? I'm not just taking my arm out. That's when he can counter me. Okay? Does that make sense? So what? Here, down. I'm like trying to make his hand go as far that way as possible. And then we're going back to the same position as the second technique here. And remember my message. Look across your partner. Post this leg up, a lot of pressure here. Yeah, this is one of the best places to practice it. Okay. So here, rotate. One of the best places to practice because again, he's really compensating himself here, which is going to set him up for the move even better. Okay. It's going to help me carry his weight the more he holds on. So here, down. Guys, don't leave your shoulder up here. It's going to get stuck. Make sure as you go here, you go nice and low, and then throw it. Okay? And here, looking across. Standing up. 1, 2. Okay. Guys, you're going to have to make a choice here. Okay? Do you want to fall back and start playing some sort of guard? Okay? Or, and this is what I'm going to recommend if you want a more complete game that's fluid, you want to follow the connections that you have. Okay? So a lot of times, especially if you're looking to get better top to bottom here, okay, I'm going to recommend that you follow this depending on what grips you have. Okay? So in this case, I'm kind of starting looser. I'm losing my connection a little bit. Something like coming up for a single leg might be your better choice. Okay? Go back. If I'm more connected here, okay, and we both stand up, lots of potential for body locks here as well, especially if he's wizarding.